Assalamu alaikum and hi.
Walaikum assalam.
My name is Maytham. I am a Pakistani citizen arrested in Saudi Arabia without legal justification. I lost I lost my job and career, did not receive compensation and suffered from anxious fear. My family did not know where I was, and to this day I am still suffering as a result of what I went through. The suffering that I lived through for a month ended with my return to my homeland Pakistan. It is true that I'm still suffering from the effects what I went through, but it know that I left behind those who may have shared my suffering and are still suffering to this day. I am here today to talk about the case of one of my cellmates, not myself, the case of Saud Al-Faraj, who faces the risk of being sentenced to death. I have been detained in a solitary cell since October 2020. After we got out the solitary cell, they put us in a group room where we moved from one room to another. Saud was with me most of the time. I closely touched what Saud was subjected to from the first moment. He was placed in a cell with detainees of foreign nationalities in an attempt to isolate him and limit his communication with others. Before being placed with us in the cell, Saud had been subjected to extensive violations. During the interrogation period, as he remained in the solitary cell for 19 months, and he was brutally tortured through beating, electric shocks, suspension, and other after his transfer to the mass prison. The violation continued against him, which promoted him to file complaints. Among that is a complaint to Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Saud spoke in the complaint about everything he was subjected to, including the threat of arrest and rape of his wife, tortured and forcing him to sign confessions, and depriving him of communication with the outside world for many months. After filing the complaints, the officer treated him with vengeance and asked him why he had filed it more than once. They also confiscated pens and papers in prison to prevent him from writing further complaints. Saud continued to demand his legitimate rights, especially since he was familiar with the law. He was demanding his rights to communicate with his family and to meet with them, in addition to his right to medical treatment after being prevented for a long time from contacting his family. Saud raised his voice again to demand his rights. A number of security men entered the cells, handcuffed him, and forcibly removed him from the cell. We didn't know where they took him. After about an hour, they brought him back, showing signs of severe beating. Saud was bleeding from the torture, though he was not referred to a doctor. With this demand still ignored, Saud declared a hunger strike, where he remained on strike for seven days before being transferred to the hospital due to his health condition. Saud stopped his hunger strike after promises to change their dealing with him. But these promises were not implemented until I got out of prison and said goodbye to him. The violation and ill treatment continue against Saud. His trial is still going on, while the public prosecution officer is calling for his death. I'm living today with the impact of what I went through, and I'm still suffering from its effects. And my family is still afraid that I should stay away from them. My psychological and material suffering did not end, but the suffering for those and have left them double behind me. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, so I'm here.